and welcome to Let's Get Lit. In today's video, we're going to go over the review for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We're going to talk about the story, the animated Disney classic, and we're going to go ahead and talk about Snow White and Rose Red. I hope you guys are ready to dive in this with me, and let's begin. So first off, we're going to start with the story of Snow White and Rose Red. In this story, we see Snow White and Rose Red as sisters. Throughout the story, we see them working together and exhibiting characteristics and traits that are thought of as good and noble. We also see at the end of the story how good wins over evil and the sisters are rewarded for their actions and deeds. So again, in this story, it still teaches morals and lessons like Grimm's fairy tales usually do, but it's told a little bit differently. If you guys remember, in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the dwarves were actually nice, and they were very accompanying to Snow White. Whereas in this story, dwarves are actually evil and mischievous, and it's only when the bear kills the dwarf that the bear turns back into a prince. Very interesting to see how those two stories kind of relate. To be honest, I never really read this story before. It was new for me to read, so I will say that it was very interesting, and I actually enjoyed following the story step by step to see where it would go. I wasn't quite sure with the story, essentially because with Grimm's fairy tales, just like in the name, they are a little grim. So seeing how the story was tackled was very fun and very interesting. I also think it's a fun twist on the classic Snow White story, but still stays true to the Grimm's fairy tale. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a media adaptation of this story, or at least a really well-known one, to review it. So I think this would be really cool as an adaptation for media, just due to the fact that Snow White essentially is still the same as we know and love her, but with the addition of her sister, it's really fun to see, and it's a really different take. I know with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, everyone usually thinks of the Disney version, the cartoon, and I think it'd be really cool to see like maybe Universal or Warner Brothers step in and kind of portray this story. Still that really nice, feel-good story, good triumphs over evil, you know, it's very loving, but told just a little bit differently. I think it could really work in this space, and especially nowadays where, let's face it, everyone's kind of sad, everyone's kind of depressed. If you look at life going on, it's kind of a downer, and this would be a really great story to tell to kind of raise people's spirits up. I think with a good writing team and a good department with budgets and effects, this could be a huge hit with kids and families and adults who just want to escape everyday life. So now let's move to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Let's talk about the story first and foremost. This is a very classic Grimm's fairy tales. It's so easy, everyone kind of knows it. First and foremost, for Grimm's fairy tale, it really isn't that grim compared to like Cinderella, where their stepsisters cut off their feet, you know, Hansel and Gretel, whatever it might be. Some of those are a little bit darker. Little Red Riding Hood. This one, the only dark part about this story is the fact that when Snow White marries the prince, she does invite or requests that the evil queen show up, and when she does, the evil queen is forced to wear hot lead shoes and dance until she dies. It's a little grim. But from beginning to end, of course, this is a very fun read. It's a very easy read. It's like 12 pages. It's very fun. I definitely see why it has stuck around throughout the years. It does teach good lessons and morals to be a good person, that good always triumphs over evil, and the fantasy element is just a really nice touch. It's just enough fantasy to still be believable without being the high concept fantasy. And of course, it's easy for kids to grasp. The story, the message, it's all there. It's black and white. It's really fun. Do I recommend reading this? I do, even if you don't have kids. I would say read it, at least if you've never read it before. It's quite fun. If you do have kids, I definitely suggest this. I mean, heck, even if they're like 5 years old, read them this version. It's really cute. It's really fun. Forgot what the lead up to the climax was in this story, which was interesting. Simply because in the Disney version, we just see the evil queen with the apple, whereas in the classic tale, we see her try to kill her with a comb, with lace, and then with finally the apple. So it's interesting to see that progression build up compared to just the apple, putting all the eggs in one basket. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the Disney version. It is an animated classic. I mean, everyone knows this, but it was Walt Disney's first full-length animated feature, colored, voices, etc., and it really put Disney on the map as a major animation studio, and really just a studio in general in Hollywood. Does this adaptation stay true to the story? I think it really does stay true to the story. I think it captures all the essences very well. As you guys know, I say it in every review, when you turn a book into media or to consume via visual medium, there are going to be changes that are going to be made. It happens with everything. Sometimes it can be really good, like Sleepy Hollow with Disney, or sometimes it can be really bad. Whatever it is, it's going to have some changes. I feel like with this one, Disney adds enough new elements to it that still feels like it's part of the Grimm's fairy tale without detracting or taking away. I feel like with this version, the songs that Disney adds, the little storylines that Disney adds, they're all fantastic. They all add to the story, and it feels accessible to everyone, whether you're 5 or 95 or even 105. The animation is beautiful. I just watched it on Disney Plus a few days ago. The animation holds up. The remastered edition looks phenomenal, and I see why and how it stuck around almost 100 years. To answer the age-old question, can you watch the movie and not read the story? No, I really don't think so. Again, because it's so cut and dry and short and sweet and to the point, go ahead and just read the story. It will take you 10-15 minutes. I think the movie is a great thing to watch with families, with kids. I think it's got its own special place, but there are a few things you have to note that are different. So all in all, I do think you should read the book, and I think it's fantastic. Again, there are just small little details in the story that are not in the movie. And if you don't want to read the story, go back and watch the previous video. It'll help you and will tell you everything you need to know. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy these classic stories, and as always, stay lit.